Truman's first hours was a secret too big to share. He shook hands, smiled for cameras, and nodded politely. No one in the room knew what he had just inherited. Power arrived carrying a secret capable of ending the world. Harry Truman became president without preparation, without warning, and without context. One moment he was vice president, largely excluded from critical decisions. The next, Franklin Roosevelt was dead, and the weight of global war rested on his shoulders. But the presidency did not simply hand him authority. It handed him silence. To understand Truman's presidency, we must begin in the first hours after Roosevelt's death, not with speeches or policy, but with absence. Truman knew almost nothing about the most consequential project in human history. He did not know its scale. He did not know its purpose. He did not know how close it was to completion. And yet, the responsibility was already his. The United States was still fighting a brutal war. Millions were dead. Europe was shattered. Japan showed no sign of surrender. Every decision carried unimaginable cost. Truman understood war. He had served. He knew sacrifice. But what he was about to learn would redefine the meaning of decision itself. Late that evening, he was briefed. Carefully, sparingly, he was told the government had built a weapon unlike anything ever used. A single device capable of destroying an entire city. A force so overwhelming it could end the war instantly, or change warfare forever. Truman listened without interruption. No dramatic reaction. No visible shock. But internally, the ground shifted. This was not strategy. This was judgment at the edge of morality. There was no precedent, no doctrine, no shared language for what this power meant. And he could not discuss it. Not with Congress. Not with allies. Not even with most of his own cabinet. The presidency isolated him by necessity. Knowledge itself became a burden, a secret too dangerous to spread, yet too heavy to carry alone. In those first hours, Truman realized the presidency was not about command. It was about containment, of information, of fear, of consequence. And the next choices he made would not just shape the end of a war. They would shape the future of humanity. The days that followed compressed history into moments. There was no time to ease into power. Truman absorbed briefings at a relentless pace. Military projections, casualty estimates, diplomatic signals from Japan. Each report narrowed the space for delay. An invasion would cost hundreds of thousands of lives, possibly more. Every alternative carried its own catastrophe. What made the decision unbearable was not just scale, but isolation. Truman could not openly test the idea. He could not ask the nation what it was willing to trade for peace. Democracy paused at the edge of secrecy. This choice belonged to him alone. Advisors presented the weapon as necessity, a decisive end, a shock so overwhelming it would force surrender. Truman listened, but did not celebrate the clarity. He understood what was being asked: to authorize destruction beyond comprehension, in the hope of preventing even greater loss. He weighed options few leaders ever face: demonstration versus deployment, warning versus surprise, delay versus inevitability. Each carried unknown consequences. Each risked normalizing a force that could never again be uninvented. As pressure mounted, Truman returned to a single responsibility: end the war. Not gloriously, not cleanly, just finally. He believed prolonging conflict would only deepen suffering. The weapon promised certainty in a war defined by endless cost. Yet even as he moved closer to decision, doubt remained. Not about whether it would work, but about what it would make the world accept. Power on this scale changed moral arithmetic. It reduced cities to variables, lives to projections. Truman signed the order quietly. No speech, no explanation, no attempt to frame history in advance. He did not see the act as victory. He saw it as closure. The fastest path to stopping the killing. The bomb fell, and with it, the nature of leadership changed. Truman would never again be just a president. He was now the man who crossed a line humanity could not uncross. The moment after the decision brought no relief, only permanence. When news of the destruction reached Truman, it arrived stripped of imagery, numbers, reports, strategic assessments. He absorbed them in silence. Celebration echoed elsewhere, but inside the presidency, there was only gravity. The weapon had worked. The war was ending, and the world was no longer the same. Japan surrendered days later. The fighting stopped. Lives were saved that would have been lost in an invasion. Truman accepted this reality without triumph. He understood the calculus. He also understood the cost would never fully surface in casualty charts or victory parades. The conflict shifted immediately, from war to responsibility, from decision to consequence. Truman now presided over a world that knew total annihilation was possible. Allies looked to him for restraint. Rivals studied his resolve. Every future crisis would unfold under the shadow of what he had authorized. Privately, Truman wrestled with the moral weight. He did not indulge in public reflection. He believed hesitation after action would weaken authority. But the knowledge settled in. He had opened a door no leader could close. The presidency was now tied to an existential threat. This was the emotional peak of his story, not the moment of decision, but the aftermath, the understanding that leadership sometimes requires choosing the least catastrophic option, not the good one. That peace could arrive carrying horror within it. As the Cold War emerged, Truman adapted. Deterrence replaced combat. Balance replaced victory. The bomb became a presence rather than a weapon. He accepted this transformation soberly. Power had to be managed, not unleashed again. Truman's presidency now operated in a permanent crisis. Every action measured against escalation. Every restraint measured against credibility. The secret he once carried alone had become the defining reality of global politics. The war had ended, but the age of consequence had begun. The resolution came not with certainty, but with restraint. Truman did not try to justify the decision endlessly. He did not seek absolution through speeches or monuments. Instead, he focused on what came next: containment, limits, control. If such power now existed, then the true test of leadership was whether it could be prevented from being used again. He resisted calls to deploy the weapon casually. He rejected proposals to normalize its use. Slowly, deliberately, he pulled the decision away from generals and placed it firmly under civilian authority. The bomb would not belong to momentum. It would belong to judgment. This choice reshaped the presidency as much as the weapon itself. Truman understood that power without restraint would end civilization. Deterrence became policy. Fear became strategy. Peace was no longer the absence of war, but the careful management of catastrophe. His story matters because it reveals a harsh truth about leadership at the highest level. Some decisions cannot be clean. Some victories carry irreversible cost. And some responsibilities follow a leader long after applause fades. Truman never escaped the weight of those first hours. He carried it quietly, insisting history would judge, not him. Yet he also set a precedent that endures, that even the most terrifying power must answer to human conscience, that the presidency, for all its authority, must still choose restraint over dominance. The secret he inherited became the world's burden, and the way he handled it became the standard by which future leaders would be measured. History often remembers the moment the bomb was used. It should also remember the years it was not. Subscribe to join the journey.